Okay, folks, let's get started. I'll just pull up the agenda first, but yeah, welcome to the May 13th meeting of the Richmond Conservation Commission. Yeah. I guess to kick things off, I guess we can, we got a few guests here, so I guess, yeah, we can just all go around the room and introduce ourselves. I'm Sam Pratt. I'm the chair of the Richmond Conservation Commission.
I'm Susanna Zeveloff. I'm a commissioner.
I'm Brett Knopf. I'm with Mountain Conservation Corps.
I'm Kit Emery. I'm a commissioner.
I'm Janelle Malone. I'm with the commission.
Trevor Brooks, commissioner.
Brad Elliott, a candidate for the esteemed representative or the representative of the esteemed Conservation Commission. I should put it that way. Excuse me. Representative to the Andrews Forest Committee, I also should say.
Lou, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Lou Borey. I'm here on behalf of the Richmond Land Trust for the discussion on the application that was submitted by the VYCC.
Great, thanks. Okay, so next up, can we get a timekeeper and a minutes taker? I guess I can do time.
I offer to be the minutes taker, but I'm still having some computer trouble.
Yeah.
So if I get that figured out, then I can do it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's possible to do like join. I've never tried running a meeting and done minutes at the same time, but I can try. We do have the reporting to rely on, so I'll give it a go. You know, at some point, I feel like I have a standing excuse to never do minutes, and I'll see if I can.
I think I actually am okay now.
Okay, are you sure?
Yeah, it just, I wasn't getting a good connection on the other Wi-Fi.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, I normally connect to Richmond hotspot, so what you're connected to.
That's what I am now, yeah.
Gotcha.
I do understand, but I do have a little hand problem.
It's okay. You've done a lot of minutes in the last
Yeah.
6 months or more.
But I wouldn't
so.
mind doing it. I've just got a problem. Yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you, Susanna. And then, yeah, I'm doing timekeeping. So next up, approving the April 14th minutes. Did folks get a chance to take a look at those? Would someone like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Okay, great. So motion by Jeanette, seconded by Kit, all in favor of, well, I guess I should say, any comments or discussion? Okay, well, all in favor of approving the April 14th minutes, say aye. Aye. Great, so unanimously approved by those present. And moving on, any additions or changes to the agenda?
We'd like to make sure we do talk about the RFP.
Okay.
There's some way that.
Yeah, we should definitely. I know that we need to spend some more time with that, and it's gotten pushed off a few times because we've had CRF applications. So I think we should at the very least make sure we have a few minutes to talk about where we're at with the RFP and at least get our bearings. I don't know if we're gonna have enough time to talk about it, the whole thing, and potential adjustments, but I do think it would be good to have a check-in. So that's a good call out. Because it is at the end of the agenda. So I'll keep track of that, and if we get close to 8 o'clock and we're still in the Phragmites Project, I'll try to warn folks that we need to wrap that discussion up. Okay.
I don't see anything about the farmers market on here.
Oh, okay. Would you like to? Do you want to put that under updates?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Sounds good.
Great. Well, yeah, we'll cover that under Under updates, I didn't read. Great, okay, so we'll move on to the second topic, which is considering an application for VYCC conservation easement. It's included in the packet, and yeah, I guess, Breck, do you wanna just give us a rundown of the request, and then Luke can chime in too, and then, you know, folks will have questions that we can talk about.
Okay, that sounds great. And thank you for putting me at the top of the agenda.
Yeah. We try to do that for our guests.
It's awesome. Yeah, so I'm here along with Lou and others probably from the Land Trust to talk about a 4.5 acre conservation easement and ask for Conservation Commission's support, endorsement of our $3,000 request from the Conservation Reserve Fund. The land that is, you know, at the heart of this, the land that we're trying to conserve, is between the two monitor barns. So if you look at those two monitor barns, you'll see that there's a farm field that's between them, and there's often corps members, hoop houses, prop houses there. It's not all of the land that's between the two barns, but it's a good portion of it. It covers a solar panel field, and it's the western, I'd say, you know, roughly 2/3 of that parcel. So closer to the west monitor barn. The funds would support VYCC's contribution to the Richmond Land Trust, which would be used for ongoing stewardship of the easement, oversight of the easement, if you will. And, you know, so that's the where and what it's for. You know, the bigger picture here, I think, is that it's just part of a larger effort to support the VYCC's food and farm program, make sure that that land, which is currently actively being farmed, stays as agricultural lands, perpetuity. The farm at VYCC is really a remarkable thing, if you will. You all are probably really familiar with the VYCC mission, which is all about giving young adults paid service experiences. And those service experiences take on many forms. Talking about trail work, right? So trail work, forestry work, carpentry work, infrastructure work in state parks. One of the things that's been really exciting over the last 17 years really is to see the growth of the farm at VYCC. It's an awesome opportunity for local young adults as well as high school students who maybe want their first job, or they've had a few farming experiences, they really want more technical skills, they can come and they can work and learn on the farm, and many of them have gone on to other farms, just working in a mass food system economy. The other thing that I think is relevant here is that just as a trail crew works on a trail, and that trail contributes to the greater good and is accessible and something that Vermonters enjoy. So there's a social good that's the output of that crew's work. The social good of the farm at VYCC is what we call the healthcare share. Healthcare share is food that we grow that's then, in partnership with medical centers, finds its way to Vermonters who are struggling with food insecurity or diet-related illness. So we partner with 13 medical centers, hospitals across the state. Over 450 families benefit from weekly shares of vegetables. We're trying to have that program be year-round. We've gone from 30 shares 2 winters ago in the winter to 60 this past winter to 90 this upcoming year. And having conserved ag land. That's all part of a broader strategy. So it kind of fits into the mission, and it fits into the farm program. And really appreciate your careful review and consideration here. I also want to thank the Richmond Land Trust. Lou in particular has been a great thought partner, writing partner, and helping to get this proposal prepared for you all. So Lou, what did I miss? What would you add? I'll turn the mic over to you, and then we can maybe have a conversation.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Breck, and thanks to the commission for considering this application. So I'll just fill the commission in on sort of the stewardship component of this project. As Breck mentioned, VYCC is donating a conservation easement, and Richmond Land Trust requires a stewardship contribution for all of its donated as well as purchased easements. And that stewardship contribution typically comes from the landowner if there's no other source of grant funding. for the project. Holding a conservation easement in perpetuity is it's a big responsibility, and it's a big commitment for a land trust. And so RLT, Richmond Land Trust, takes it seriously. For the purpose of the stewardship contribution is to cover costs like annual monitoring of the property, remarking boundaries, sometimes reestablishing survey monuments that have been lost or distributed over time. And also, Richmond Land Trust needs to be prepared to, to take any kind of action that would result from a violation of the easement. Those don't happen frequently, but they do happen. And actually, Richmond Land Trust has had experience, defending a violation of an easement in the past. And so, things like that can happen, things like boundary encroachment or tree cutting or trail building. So typically those kinds of things are resolved, voluntarily, and don't require, any kind of long-term action, but they can require legal action, and which we've had to resort to on a couple of occasions. And we also purchase conservation easement insurance from a company called Terra Firma, which that company was set up specifically to provide easement insurance to land trusts, so that it's a legal defense fund essentially, so that if we do get into any kind of serious legal dispute, we can call on that insurance to fund that. And the annual premium for that insurance actually is now over $3,000 a year. So there are costs associated with land trusts. Even though we don't own the land, we are responsible for monitoring the easement, and again, we take that responsibility seriously. So happy to answer any questions about that.
Thanks, Lou, and thanks, Greg. Do folks have any questions for, go ahead.
Are there gonna be any additional buildings added to that part of the land, or?
If there are buildings, there would be agricultural buildings, and there are height restrictions. Now, we had back and forth, Lou, about what the actual height restrictions are. I want to say 21 feet, and typically we looked at our hoop houses and we said, well, what are those? Let's give ourselves a little more leeway above and beyond those.
Yeah,
Do I have the right number?
I believe it's 25 feet is what we settled on. Yeah.
So the operational stormwater permit for the expansion,
The
operational stormwater permit for the expansion of the building, the cabins in the back.
Yeah.
So the stormwater operation permit has a travel wetland, which I think is on the right, east part of the property that's in the easement.
Yep.
If that needs to be expanded, is that something that's okay to do within the conservation easement?
So
Looking at you, Lou.
yeah. So I think the question was, there is a stormwater pond, or it's a gravel wetland, as you said, that is part of the easement, and the easement would allow for maintenance of that pond over time. I think it's a fairly self kind of regulating system, but over time it could require some maintenance, and the easement does allow for that. Was that the question, or was there another question?
Well, I guess the state could change the rules and make somebody who has an operation permit have more treatment potentially, and I just wanted, if that had to be expanded, that would be probably the easiest place to do it. So if it was allowing the easement, that would make sense to do it there versus trying to locate it somewhere outside the easement that's not connected with the infrastructure that's already in place.
Yeah. I guess another factor here is that gravel wetland was designed with future buildings in mind, so we're hoping to we are going to put some cabins up on the hillside.
Yeah.
Those are 3-season cabins. We also have permitted for a dorm to go up the hillside there. So the site work infrastructure that we put in place over the winter is for more than what you just see there. So
I was looking at like the future permit, like the operation permit, from, I think last year in November. Like the new one for what's planned to be put in. I just wanna make sure that it wasn't like limited, like if you wanted to do more, if like this is the easy place to do it, it makes sense to expand that. It wasn't restricted into the easement, or if the state, which they have done, changes operational rules that require further treatment. If you needed more space, that would be the spot to usually do it. Like, I don't know if that's restricted within the easement or not. I don't know what you're allowed to do, or if that's something that we not allowed to expand within the easement.
Well, again, the easement specifically acknowledges the presence of that gravel wetland.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't address expansion specifically, but I understand from Breck that the stormwater permit and the design of that pond is designed to handle you know, all of the foreseeable development on the property. I think that's what Breck was getting at.
I just don't know, but is that just not allowed within the easement in general? Like, could you build a new one? Is that not agriculture? Or is that restricted?
I don't know. I mean, I think our general approach here has been belts and suspenders. As we've
Okay.
had.
I just wanna make sure it's like future proof, so there's not limitations to something that would be easy to do, but the best way to do it.
It's hard to tell where it is exactly, but it looks like it's pretty close to the solar panels anyway, right? So I don't.
Feel like the future one's on the right, the east side.
Okay, gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, this is where it
It's-
is.
Yeah, it's actually quite close to the boundary of the easement,
Yeah.
so you know,
Fairly, yeah.
it's possible that it could be expanded outside the actual boundary of the easement, and that wouldn't really involve the
Yeah.
easement itself.
Yeah,
I'd just like to make a comment that the partnership with the hospital seems brilliant. I'm just curious who came up with that. You serve
It came out of
450 families?
I mean, this was years ago, it was probably 2012, and it came out of a conversation with a physician named Marvin Malik at Central Vermont Medical, CVMC, Central Vermont Medical Center, Center. And he really liked what we did. He worked in the hospital. He said there's got to be a way for your farm to support our patients. We just have a brainstorming session, and out of that brainstorming session came the healthcare share.
How many years ago was that?
I think that was 2012.
Okay,
Yeah, maybe 2011.
I don't think many people are aware of.
We keep trying to spread the
Yeah.
word. You can help us spread the word.
Anyways, it makes the
Not for lack of effort.
application extra strong in my mind. for that
Exactly.
reason.
Yeah. Well, Vermont's this great ecosystem of food innovation, agricultural innovation, so it kind of makes sense that the Vermont's core,
Yeah.
conservation core, is playing in that same box too.
Right.
But thank you.
any questions? Just a comment. Suzanne, do you have any questions?
Well, I'm not sure if it's a silly question, but I do have this thought of like. I can't imagine anyone else using that land because it's like so in the middle of VYCC. So like what's that land at risk of if it doesn't become under a conservation easement?
Well, I'll take a stab at that. Maybe Breck wants to follow up, but the purpose. So Richmond Land Trust initiated the Montalbarnes project in the late '90s, around 1996, and the purpose of the project was to conserve as much of the agricultural and historic landscape between Jonesville and Richmond as possible. And the initial funding for the project actually came from a federal highway grant that provided funds. They were called enhancement funds for conserving land near federal highways like the interstate. And it was really a scenic program that protected the scenic landscape near near federal highways, and other federal facilities. And so, that was a big component of the reason why we started the project, in addition to, preserving agricultural land that hopefully will be used in the two monitor barns. So, it's hard to foresee what might happen in the future to that particular property. At one time, that property was zoned commercial in the Richmond zoning ordinance. And it's not anymore, I don't believe, but things change over time. And I have full faith that the VYCC is going to own and manage this property responsibly for agriculture, but it's hard to foresee the future. And so this area, again, has been identified by the Richmond Land Trust for almost 30 years as an area that really should be protected for agriculture.
I will also note that in the conservation reserve fund policy itself, there's a lot of language about specifically, trying to promote and protect agricultural resources. I don't know if it necessarily designates protecting stuff that isn't a farm yet, but would be. But I think that, it seems like it's in line with the spirit of the Conservation Reserve Fund to try to continue to conserve agricultural lands when possible.
Is there a listing of all the criteria, all the boxes, checks?
There is a list in the application itself.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
Can you spell your name for me?
Breck, first name,
Mhm.
Knauft.
Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, I don't actually have any questions specifically. I looked over the application like it, and I think that folks here have asked some good questions. So that said, would somebody like to make a motion to approve this application?
Make motion to approve this application.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, great. Okay, cool. So we've got a motion to approve this application. I guess, is there any additional discussion? Great, okay, so yeah, all those in favor of approving. I should write these out before, I know that the select board does this, so they can just read it off. As a new chair, I have a few tricks to learn. Yes, all those in favor of approving this Conservation Reserve Fund application for the select board. Let me check that up, but sorry. Didn't help, but I gave blood today too, so I feel like I'm like a little bit out of it.
You got the Sam.
Okay, so the motion that I have is, to recommend that select board approve VYCC's application for CRF funds of $3,000 towards the cost of donating a conservation easement to Richmond Land Trust. Does that sound correct to everyone?
Mhm.
Okay, so all those in favor, of, that motion, which was, made by Kit and seconded by Jeanette, say aye. Aye.
I,
Great, so that's unanimous, so we don't have to do it first.
Fantastic, thank you.
Cool, yeah, thanks so much for.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, thanks for coming.
sure.
Great to have you, and I will let you know, I'll let Josh, the town manager know, and then he'll let me know when that's hitting the select board agenda. They've got one next Monday. I know that it's already pretty stacked, so I'm not sure if they're gonna make it on there, but as soon as I have information from Josh, I'll forward it to you both, so you guys will know when to show up at the select board meeting, since they gotta ultimately approve this.
Okay, sounds good.
Great.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Sam, I'm gonna give you my personal email,
Oh, cool.
because at some point my
Oh.
VYCC email is gonna shut down.
Okay, cool,
So,
great.
Thank you.
if you just use that as well, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, really nice to meet all of you, and thank
Yeah, good to meet you too.
Congratulations.
So we're,
Yeah, thanks.
yeah, sorry, we're only meeting you now as you're on your way out, but, yeah. Good luck with your future endeavors, and yeah, maybe I'll see you at the select board meeting.
Okay, yeah, I bet.
All right, sounds good. Take care. Okay, moving on to the next item, we've got, application for, ACFC. This is for the, RCC recommendation seat. So I will remind folks that the way that the Andrews Community Forest Committee works is that there are 9 seats. 2 are designated as conservation related seats and 2 are trails related seats. There's a representative seat and a recommendation seat for each. I am the representative seat, which is somebody who must serve, who must be on the Conservation Commission to be able to serve in that capacity on Forest Committee. What we're talking about here is the recommendation seat, which is, can be, you know, somebody who's not on RCC, but is still has, I guess, the blessing of this committee to represent conservation interests for the forest. So that's why we're considering this application, just because Brad's re-upping, he's been serving. We did review his application some time ago. I don't know if it was a full 3 years ago, if you picked up midterm. I think you picked up midterm, but I could be wrong. I think you're muted, Brad.
Yeah, I think it's a little less than 3 years, maybe 2.5, something like
Got
that. I filled an empty slot that had popped up.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So, I mean, this really, to me, just, you know, felt like we should put it on here, just as a check-in. I can say, as somebody who's worked with Brad on ACFC for, you know, the past couple of years, I fully endorse his reappointment as the conservation, recommendation. But, you know, it's only fair for everyone to weigh in, for those who have been tracking what we've been up to on that side of things. So yeah, I guess Brad, if you could say a few words, now that people have the context and folks can ask questions, but I don't really expect this to be a lengthy interview.
No, I think the main thing I want to say is just to thank the Conservation Commission for recommending me that first time 2.5 years ago or whenever it was. It's been a lot of hard work. I mean, a lot of times we're meeting twice a month, but it's been very worthwhile, very satisfying. There's a completely different tenor to the meetings than there used to be, going back, I don't know, 5 years maybe. Some good folks we're working with. I mean, to the person. I've enjoyed it, you know, very much with everybody, and I'd like to, you know, continue that. you've got the management plan draft finally came out, but I think as you go through that, go through even the highlights in that introductory letter will show you that it's really for the good of the forest. We've managed to address both the forest ecological needs and the recreational needs. We've tried to prevent those two needs from competing with each other, and I think we've done a really good job of trying to locate activities, locate conservation where it's most needed and most valuable to the whole town, to everybody in the town. So, I'm up for another term if you're up for having me, and happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Brad, I think you've done a great job, and you, Sam, and others on that committee have done a really good job together, and I'm for having you stay
Thank
on
you.
that.
Thanks much. Yeah.
But I think you've done a lot to change the tenor that you're addressing. And, you're to credit for a lot of that. I've been watching it closely myself for 5 or 6 years, and I wanna just commend you for doing that. And also, I appreciate that you're even wanting to do this during a really important transition, which would really benefit from your leadership.
Well, thanks a lot. I will say though, I mean, it's really, it's not just me, it's not just Sam, it's not any single person. Everybody has really contributed, and I've had my mind changed, my knowledge expanded just by working with everybody there. It's really a good team effort, I think. But thanks, Jenna.
Any other questions or comments? Cool, well, would somebody like to make a motion? I feel like it's a little weird for me to make a motion, specifically for Brad, who has been serving as co-chair of the Forest Committee, so I'd appreciate it if it came from somebody else.
I'll make a motion
Okay,
to have Brad remain on the ACF.
okay, cool. I guess I'll second. So yeah, I guess all those in favor of recommending that the select board appoint Brad Elliott to the RCC recommendation seat. It was like a little redundant. For ACFC, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Okay, awesome.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, I'll let Josh know that you've got RCC's endorsement to continue on as the RCC recommendation seat.
Cool.
And well, yes, I don't think you need to be at the select board meeting next Monday for that purpose, although I guess we'll probably be hanging out with them late night, it sounds like, to talk
think so.
ACF for that, so.
Sounds like, yeah. Sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Great, thank you, Brad.
Yep, you take care.
Okay, next. We've got, ACFC update, ACFC update, so, yeah, I already emailed you all, I'm assuming you all got the email, about the current state of the ACF management plan. We finished the preliminary draft, meaning ACFC has finished its work in revising the management plan, but now we're in the feedback stage where we want to get feedback from this committee, the select board, and the trails committee, sort of per the way that the system was designed. I guess it's not explicit, but it seems intended, especially considering the way that the seats are made up. And as we were working on the management plan, because there were so many voices, even just in the in the room just with the committee itself. We had some check-ins on this committee and, had sort of decided, and I think I had also maybe like proposed or asked, as a member of ACFC, that we kind of hold off, for the forest committee to solicit feedback directly. And this is like that period of time now where the plan feels like it's no longer in shambles. It was kind of torn apart and put back together. We went through a lot of iterations of different things. And so now that we've sort of like cleaned it up and we feel proud of the resulting document, now is the time for us to review it. So the way that we can talk about this and decide what we want to do, but we had plenty to talk about this meeting, and I think it's a little bit early, for us to have full discussion, but we could, share initial thoughts, I suppose, if people want to. But my thought would be that we would have a chance for people to read the document, make, your own sort of like personal notes, and we can either have everyone sort of like send in their notes, I guess, to me or to somebody else on the committee who would basically collect them all. And then we basically have one marked up document that represents what RCC, might want changed, or questions that RCC might have about the management plan. Another option would be everybody reads the management plan, takes their own notes, and then we have a discussion. I think either way, we should talk about it, maybe next meeting, maybe the meeting after, but we've kind of proposed a 10-week deadline, which we're gonna find out from the select board next Monday, whether or not they like that timeline, but we wanted to give enough time for folks to get the document, take a look at it, and have there be at least one public meeting where those bodies could discuss and give their thoughts. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. So yeah, I guess I'd be curious what people think about how they would prefer to review the document, whether, folks would like, I think people need to read it before we can have a discussion about it. And it's a pretty chunky document, so I doubt everyone's read all the way through it yet. So my plan would be to put it on the agenda for our next meeting. And then, or we could add an additional meeting. We feel like it's gonna take, we could easily talk about it for 2 hours if we wanted to. So we could either, I don't know, I guess I'm all ears for what people would like to do in terms of like how much time people think they need, and if people would rather just send in edits to me that I can sort of collect into one document that represents the changes that RCC might want to make, or if we want to just take all of our notes to a meeting, talk about it, and then we can together kind of like either write up a document or mark up a document and send that back. Because those comments the intention is for those comments to all get taken back in, along with the feedback we get from Trails and the select board. So what we'll say, this is like kind of a wish list, we can say like, hey, we like this, but really we're like asking for feedback. To go, I guess, positive or negative. If there's anything we would like changed, we can ask. But because we're also going to be considering changes from the select board and the Trails committee, we're going to have to weigh all of that feedback and hopefully come to, a consensus on, what is best for the plan. So, yeah.
Could I ask you what, from your experience so far of trying to work together on one document, which seems like the most efficient
So
process to do?
Yeah, so I'll clarify as far as working on one document. So we don't explicitly work on one document because that would be a violation of open meeting law. We can't have a shared document that everyone is in and commenting on, because that is
No,
just
like
like,
you've been working within your committee.
Yes,
sometimes
yeah.
Documents, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Given that, what's easiest for you in terms of how we deliver our feedback?
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to clarify for anyone, watching the recording, because that's not how ACFC is operated, but so what we've been doing is one person has the document and then basically projects it on the screen, and we can live edit the document together. So that, because it's a warned meeting, that's the time where we can all, look at and, edit the document together. So that's been sort of the most efficient way that we found of working on it, where we would basically send out, everyone would get the document in advance, take a look at it, provide, basically write their own comments, and then we would basically just go through the document together, top to bottom, and stop along the way anywhere where people felt like they had something they wanted to cover. And so then that way we can sort of like comprehensively go through the entire document.
Would you
On
want to do
screen.
that with us?
Sure, yeah, I think that works great. I mean, it's a good way that everyone can look at the same document at the same time. We can share the screen so anyone remotely can see it, and then anyone here will be able to see it live on the screen. And then, yeah, it just makes sure that we're on the same page, and then that way we are collectively approving the document that is on the screen. And we kind of just like take a snapshot of the document at the end, whenever a motion is made to, approve, the document. So that way we know we're all looking at the same thing. And that's seems to have been the most effective way for us to manage things, because otherwise we found there were different, there's different versions of the document floating around, and sometimes people have an old one, and it got kind of confusing. So
Do you think that's realistic for us to do within the hour, like 2 hours, or like an hour 1 month and an hour another month? And also, that's not my agenda, it's just I'm trying to get a sense of what you think would be most effective.
I think we're, pretty like-minded here, so there's probably gonna be less conflict than there has been on the forest committee. What I will say is, there have been some major changes to the management plan, in the last few years. But we've had to, meet twice a month, and those have been 2, sometimes 2.5 hour or even longer meetings. So I'm certain that we could talk about this for 2 hours, no problem. So I think we should, if we can, try to allocate at least a couple of hours to talk about it. Unless what we want to do is, all do our work separately, send, people can individually send their, revisions or their edits to one person, probably me, but it could be anyone on this committee, who would basically collect them all into one document. Then that document I would share out to the commission. So everyone would get an advanced copy of a marked up document. So that way everyone can read sort of, and it would be posted as a part of the packet. So basically, everyone can sort of see what everyone else's comments are going into the discussion. So that way you've already had a chance to sort of like read some of the comments, think about it, digest it. So we're not working through like those types of thoughts in real time. Because what I found is it's not helpful, it's not very helpful or productive to try to write the document together. It's much more helpful when somebody has written out, if they have a proposal that they want to change the language, for example. It's much more helpful when somebody has written out a new bullet point, and then we would just, look at that point and then agree to approve that in place of what was there before, versus trying to come up with the language on the spot. Sometimes I think it's a little bit hard to, I don't do my best work under pressure when, I'm typing in front of a group of people. So, yeah, I guess in a perfect world, I would say the packet that I sent all the management plan, everyone should read it. There's a Word version and there's a PDF version. So the Word version you can mark up. And then just with comments, either with Word or with, Google Docs, you can just, as not an editor, but suggesting or as a commenter, you can basically make changes, and then I can collect all that and integrate it into one document and then send that back out. So that I think would probably be the most efficient way for us to capture everybody's feedback in a way that is compliant with open meeting law. It would give people advance notice on what other people are thinking about the plan, and then would hopefully mean that we have a nice efficient meeting. That said, I think that given the timeline, it would be good that if we covered it next meeting, or if we wanted to have like if we feel like we're so busy with other things, because I know we have a lot of irons in the fire right now, that we might want to consider having like a special meeting just where the only topic of discussion is just a 2-hour discussion about, or however long it takes, whether that's 60 minutes or if it takes, a couple hours or more if people want to stay, then it would just be dedicated to talking about the management plan. I think that would probably be the most effective way to do it, but it's up to all of us, it's a group decision, so.
I think it's whatever is easier for you, Sam,
Okay.
to get all this feedback. I mean, and obviously the proper way to do it, and not you know, upset any of the other rules, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, what if you have somebody that really rejects a good portion of the management plan? How are you guys gonna deal with that?
Are you talking about from this committee or just in
No,
general?
not from this committee, from other committees that might
that's-
be in the works.
It's a good question. I think we're gonna need to probably take a lot of guidance from the select board, because I'm expecting that there are going to be things about the plan that the trails committee doesn't like, and likewise, I think there are gonna be things about the plan that this committee doesn't like, you know, like I feel like, you know, those are two groups that are kind of coming from completely opposite ends. While we have a lot in common, I feel like some folks would primarily like the forest to be, you know, for recreation, and some people would primarily like to see it conserved, and so ultimately, we're not going to come to a perfect solution for everybody. So we are going to have to, you know, to deal with that. We've done a lot of that already over the course of the last couple of years. And this is sort of our best effort for something that we feel like is compromised, but I think that ultimately, the select board and Vermont Land Trust are the ones who are going to be approving this document. And so I think that the feedback we get from the select board is going to have like a little bit more weight to it than what we get from this committee or from the Trails Committee. So let's say the Trails Committee says, we like the plan, but we really don't like, you know, these 3 pages, you know, in the rec section. And then this committee says, we think the rec section is perfect, or like, we think we should be more, we think we should put bigger buffers like on things. So we've got 2 sets of feedback coming from 2 different, you know, directions, saying like, oh, I think we should have more conservation, bigger buffers. The other folks are saying we should get rid of, you know, the buffers, or, you know, reduce the buffers. I think ultimately, if the select board says like, hey, we think this is a really fair trade-off, then we might just leave it. So it's gonna be tricky. I mean, you know, we're gonna have to kind of just like roll with it based on the feedback we get. But yeah, there's not gonna be a perfect solution.
And are you guys gonna set a time on this, like say the Trails Committee comes back and we come back and we're not happy? When do you pull the select board in to make that decision to determine which side or where we agree?
Yeah, I think ultimately, some of that's gonna be, those are good questions, and some of that stuff is gonna be talked about with the select board next Monday. Cause like, we are also presenting this plan to the select board right now. And we have like a proposed timeline, and we have a proposed like set of like order of events where like, you know, we're trying, you know, where we proposed, you know, like 8 to 12 weeks for review for, you know, for the various committees. And then our plan is to come back in and try to integrate that. And then have a public feedback meeting like we had, you know, well, before my time, but you know, it was like it was about 3 years ago. So my wish is for the select board to like be the ones that are running that meeting if we are having that meeting. I think I'm gonna have to ask them. There's like a few different ways we could do this. One way would be that we collect all of our comments as RCC, you know, after our meeting. We generate a document that has all the things that we would like to see changed. And it can also have positive comments too. It's just like, hey, we really like this, or this is important. Like, if you have, it might be helpful to also outline things where it's like, we want to underscore as RCC that this is important to us. So like, if you do have to make adjustments, like this is one thing that would be really great if you could preserve. So it doesn't just have to be like negative feedback. It can also be like positive feedback. So I think one way that could happen is RCC has its document, and RTC has its document, and, you know, select board has, has feedback for us. And depending on what the select board wants, one possibility would be to basically have sort of like a big joint meeting with ACFC and RCC and RTC and the select board, I guess, where we're basically sort of almost like an unsealed bid process, where like, we're basically going through all this stuff together. That might be a little bit chaotic and could be really long. I think that, yeah, ultimately, we're gonna have to just pull in all of the comments, and like, I think that the forest committee is gonna do its best to try to pull all that stuff in. It might be that we need to tag in the select board and say like, hey, here's the feedback we got, and we're we feel like the, management plan is great as is, or we might say like, we're having a really hard time reconciling these things, but the whole point of the forest committee was, to provide guidance to the select board so that they didn't have to do that. Because it's taken one committee, a few years to do this. It's taken the town, the plot was originally purchased in 2018 and we're in 2026 now, so. I think they've kind of empowered us to make some of those decisions and, I think they'll give us a little nudge if they feel like we're off track, but I think we've got really, really close to what they're looking for.
So if we compile all our comments, and then send them to you, would you then put them in the actual draft?
They would go, so we have the current draft, which is, which I sent out, it's also posted right now on the ACFC page on the Richmond town site. It's the very top of the page, there's the current preliminary draft of the management plan, along with the same things I sent, you all.
I don't think I worded that correctly.
Sure.
I guess what I mean is like, you said like the ACFC will live edit the document together. I think what I'm concerned about in a long meeting is if you have all of our comments, but they're not connected to the document itself, and then we'll have to go back and forth, and it'll say on paragraph 2, line 3 of this page.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like, so how, is there a way for you to somehow incorporate all of our comments into a draft?
I
So
believe
that
so,
you know exactly what it's referencing instead of having to go back and forth.
I believe so, I'm not like the word whiz here, but, Brad, do you know, I think like either you or like Ian had a way of like merging multiple files that had comments on them, right? Like, I think there's a way to do that, where essentially I could take 5 versions of the same document that all have different comments and edits, and basically pull them into one Word document that basically reflects those changes. I might, if I have to do it manually, I will, it's like not as fun to do it that way, if I can do it automatically, great, but what we can do is have one document that has consolidated all of the edits and comments in one place. That's the one that will go out in the packet, and that's the one that we will put up on screen and look at together. So we won't have to keep going back to our own personal versions. We'll see everything on the screen, and we can start scrolling until we get the first comment or the first edit, and then that way we're sort of checking everything off our list.
So we should keep our comments on the draft so that you can then merge.
Yes, so the draft that I sent out, I would say, in either Word or, Google Docs, like open that management plan document that was sent out, I think it was dated May 7th. And then you should just be able to change your editor icon to suggesting. And then anything you type on the document will show up with like a record of like, so-and-so suggested change X, Y, or Z. And once you're done with your comments and your edits, then just send that version to me.
And we can do that on Google Docs, right?
I don't have Word, I've been doing it on Google Docs the whole time, so on the right hand side, there's like that's right here. Like there's just a drop down with like a pencil where you just go from editing to suggesting, and then if you start typing, it'll just show up, and you can also like select something and you can add a comment, saying like, I like this, or like I, a question or whatever, so.
Is there somebody in the chat?
I was gonna ask about that.
I'm sorry, I'm not very good at monitoring. Yeah, you can also meet in small working groups outside of your once per month meeting, so long as it's not a quorum. Yeah, that's true. Mentioning it in case that happens to be useful approach for this task. That's a good point. Folks want to split up and talk about stuff together. That's totally fine. This committee, quorum is 4. It's a committee of 7 plus 2 alternates. So quorum is 4. So don't meet with more than 4 people. If you have 3, that's fine. That's not a violation of open meeting law, but I feel like they're not. I'll explicitly say that these are not subcommittees, these are working groups. If people choose to work in small groups of 3 or less, that is fine.
I like the idea of us sending you our comments, and so we have, as you said, enough time to really think things through and type them up, and then you would integrate them, and then we would devote maybe not one long marathon meeting, but 1 hour in June 1 hour in July.
Okay, yeah, I think that would work.
And
I-
then that
yeah.
way we're not competing with the other things that we're trying to tend to.
Yeah, I like that approach. I think that's the easiest way for us to be comprehensive and to look at everybody's comments in one place. I'm not sure where like the hot topics are gonna be, so like, I would say, well, read and comment on the first half of the document by, the first meeting and then the second half, but I don't know if that's how we're gonna spend our time, so ideally, folks would read and review and provide comment before the first meeting. We'll get through as much as we can. That might also give us a good idea for how long the rest of the discussion is gonna take. So if we only get through 15% of the document in 1 hour, then that means that we're gonna need more time to talk about it. And we might find that RTC and select will want more time too.
Yeah.
I know that ACFC took basically 2 years to get this iteration of like the draft done. It's a
We
little
can
harder.
just do the best we can,
Yeah,
work out the
yeah.
hour, and if we need more time,
Yeah,
we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Also, you should let us know if we do that, when you want the comment, so you can,
as long as I have, yeah, it'd be a few days before the packet is due, so I need a couple days to combine all the documents. And the packet is for our committees, the trick with RCC is that technically. It needs to be warned by Sunday evening, but because it's a weekend, sometimes Duncan's not available to post, so oftentimes I will send in the packet on Friday. Because he's working on Friday and there's never, it's not a guarantee that he's gonna be around on Saturday and Sunday. So sometimes I need to have it to him by the Friday before, which means I need it like the Wednesday, almost a week before the RCC meeting. If it's normally on a Tuesday, I'd want it like 6 days before on that, like Wednesday, I think is enough time for me to collect all the comments, put them in that doc. And get them, into the packet.
Would
yeah,
we,
and maybe you need a little more time to think that through, and you could just email us and say, can you please get your comments to me by this date?
Yeah, that's fine, I mean, I can summarize this, and send out an email, a follow-up email on this, on the thread that I already sent out. Based on what we talked about tonight, which is like, here's the process. Open this document in Word, set yourself to suggesting, do your editing. Have it done by X date, send it back to me, and then I'll combine it, so that way there's sort of like a checklist of here are the things you need to do. And also, like, I would appreciate it if everyone has a chance to look at it, but like, I'm not gonna require anybody, some of you might read it and be like, I don't have any comments, like, we did spend 2 years on it, so I feel like we have thought about a lot of things. I'm sure we've missed a few things, but it's also fine if, if you don't have anything to say. But I definitely wanna make sure that everyone's got a chance to chime in, because I know that folks here have expressed interest in wanting to be a part of the discussion, and this is like sort of like the official time to do that.
so when we together like look at everybody's comments, what will the process be? About those comments and if they're gonna be like accepted or changed, it just seems like it could get so granular and like long
I think,
process.
yeah, depending on how many comments there are, it may be that we just need to sort of like, set a timer for each of them to just like try to burn through them. Sometimes it is really easy to get lost in discussion on some of these things. And like, we can't really afford to do that. Like, that's kind of what the forest committee has been doing. Which is maybe not the most efficient, but I think it was kind of necessary. Considering it's like the forest committee's job to like come up with a comprehensive management plan. But yeah, if we're trying to get through all these things, I think. It'll be up to me to really make sure that we're moving forward, and you all too, like if you feel like we're spending too much time on something, people could just chime in and say, hey, can we move along here?
We would wanna do a special meeting. To discuss just this.
I think Jeanette's approach was fine in that if we put this. On our next meeting, and then that might give us a good idea for whether or not we need a dedicated meeting to talk about it further. So we could allocate, an hour to work on it next meeting.
I mean, also, if we don't have a bunch of new things that we add to the agenda, that we then
It's
take
true.
that might just dictate whether we need to had it.
Exactly, like, CRF apps oftentimes are time sensitive and kind of take precedence, because that's one of our main jobs here, is to make sure that we're not. Blocking requests, so obviously we wanna give things enough time to talk about them, but. I think those, well, I don't know, I guess the ACFC stuff is time sensitive too, so I guess it also has its own level of precedence, but. I'm fine with either. If we wanna meet separately, I feel like we could totally use that time. I also might be. I'm probably gonna be out of town the second half of June. And maybe the beginning of July, so that might make things more challenging for me. I could probably attend remotely, but that's not a guarantee. So if we met earlier, I'm just trying to think of the timing, since if we met at the beginning of June, but if we were trying to do an off week meeting, I might not be around, unless I was doing it remotely. So it would be better for me if we had like an off schedule meeting. Either like later this month or the beginning of June, rather than in the end of June. But it could be that the timeline changes, when we talk to the select board on Monday, because like we proposed like 8 to 12 weeks, because we thought that's like what was necessary for folks to like read the material, talk about it in like a public meeting, and like collect the feedback and send it back to us. But they might say, that's crazy. You guys spent 2 years and we only get 12 weeks, like, we want more time, and like, that's fine, we're just trying to like keep the process moving. So I don't really know, we're just advising the select board, so. Unfortunately, until next week, I don't have as much information, but I can keep you updated and report back next Monday, depending on what they say. So I think for now, I can send a follow-up with instructions, and we should just plan to talk about it for like about an hour, I guess, next RCC regularly scheduled RCC meeting. And then we can kind of take it from there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, sounds good.
Okay, well, we should move on. We'll be behind, but just keep going. So next up, we've got updates. Jeanette, I figured I'd let you do a little save our salamanders wrap up, and also if you have any weed pulling stuff you'd like to talk about.
All right, well, I pretty much gave you guys the gist in our last.
It's true,
meeting.
yeah, we
We're
did.
finishing it up, but we have this issue of how to get the gear. Next year, I think, what do you guys think of creating more of a checkout system? So that I basically have all of the gear and a number and your name, and then when you take it out, I can see exactly who has what on the list. And then I can also track people down.
I owe you
Or
care.
able to
Yeah,
find
I do too.
people. And I know it's a little tricky because some of us know we're gonna do it again next year. And so it seems kind of silly to return it when you know you're gonna get it back again. How do you all feel about that?
It's probably a better system to take it all back, so you have it in one place, because like
Yeah.
managing exceptions is hard, like I am guilty of. Hanging on to gear and I didn't lose it, and I've used it, multiple years in a row, but like. I do think as far as managing the project. It's probably better to just take all the gear back and have it in a centralized place.
Yeah, I agree.
You agree?
Yeah. Yeah,
Sounds good.
even though I haven't brought mine.
Yeah,
back.
same.
Yeah.
I was supposed to bring it tonight,
And
totally
if
forgot.
you guys want me, has anyone approached Josh about getting serious to find a small dedicated space for our equipment?
I can ask him,
I mean, I was wondering if you'd want me to take that off your plate, Sam, and I could talk to him.
sure, yeah, if you want to, that'd be great, I mean.
How do other people, unless someone else is hot to do that, I'm hot to do that.
Then we should do it, I've got a
You can do it.
relationship with Josh, but that's one less thing for me to do, which is great, 'cause
And I might have a conversation with the library too, because I know they're checking out, things like snowshoes now.
Mhm.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
true.
And then, do you like this idea of having sort of a gathering, at least for this year, when we just think of something along the lines of bring your gear and I'll give you a beer.
Sure.
I'll do, yeah, I'm for that.
Something kind of fun like that, maybe at Stone's Throw.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's
So
right.
that all the different people could meet each other. and-
Yeah, just
yeah.
come bring your gear, have a little beer.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Something like that.
It's like a good plan, Jeanette, that's, I like that, wet the whistle.
Great. And then, let's see, oh, I just want to clarify one thing, which is, at one point, I was asked to recuse myself from voting. On, I guess, the amount of money that was spent on our gear this year.
Mhm.
And then someone said later, oh, no, you don't need to worry about that. So it's a little confusing, but we never really defined this as the Jeanette Malone project.
Mhm.
This is really our project.
Yeah.
As a crew, and just for clarification, you guys might not know this, but the original, this was everyone's idea out of a discussion we had. I think before you were here with us.
I think it was, yeah.
And then Judy ran with the idea and she did the first draft proposal. For the
Okay.
year that we needed that year. And then, she handed it to me to edit it. And then she kind of let me just run with it from there, just because she needed to get it. It was just too much work.
Yeah,
So I just wanted to trace the history of that, how that got started, how I really see myself as a coordinator and a representative.
Yeah.
For all of us in coordinating this program. And that's really ours.
yeah, I appreciate that clarification. As far, yeah, I think that it was not necessary for you to recuse yourself. We were just trying to play it safe. And I think the select board actually chimed in on that when we brought that application to them, and they basically said, it's fine for us to vote on applications.
Hey, the DRB just concluded, so I don't know if anyone has a key.
I don't have a key, but I know how to lock up.
You know,
So I'll turn off the lights and lock up. Yeah, absolutely, thanks. So they basically said, as long as we're being explicit that it is a RCC member that is submitting the application, that's the funny part, is like that, it's like, we're submitting an application for funding for, and it's. Oftentimes, like the application we just reviewed earlier tonight, it comes from an outside entity. So what they just wanted to make sure is that anytime a member of RCC is applying for something, that we just put that on the app, say like, so-and-so is a member of RCC, and there's no like conflict of interest here. So like, it would have been fine for you to vote on it. And like, I appreciate you also stating that like, this is a RCC project and not just a Jeanette Malone project, but
Yeah, because I think I mean, the application was based on me actively getting feedback from everybody here about what they wanted.
Yeah.
And then, I actually brought that to you all.
Yeah.
Showed it to
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
and you guys made a motion to approve it. So. It wasn't as if I independently wrote it and then it got somehow submitted with my name on it. I was really, I see myself as a representative for the RCC.
Yeah, I mean, we all are, but I suppose unless we get somebody who's
Yeah, I
not
was
an
the
artist.
author of it, but I also facilitated making sure that you all were represented.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yeah,
So it's like an RCC thing, but Jeanette's the one, someone has to like write it.
yeah,
Like,
somebody's
it's
gotta,
not really like, I mean, it's not Jeanette's thing.
yeah, it has to come from somewhere or someone. I suppose we could ask if we should just submit them as RCC instead of an individual named person.
I
That's
think that's a
also,
really good
That would probably
way
be-
to do it,
Yeah.
I do too.
so we,
yeah, we could just do it that way in the future.
Somebody has a potential conflict and they don't recuse themselves, there's a form you have to fill out. In the ethics thing.
Yeah.
Which. If it's not an ethics thing, because it's actually just RCC applying for it, it's not a certain person.
Mhm.
But if you recuse yourself, you have to fill it out, if you don't recuse yourself and you keep going, you have to fill out the conflict of interest form, like. Stating all the different things.
Yeah.
You have to do it by like the week after the meeting.
Yeah, I think in this case, like, we don't stand to gain anything more than the average Richmond resident does from, aside from, I guess, our enjoyment and, saving salamanders on the road, which we could do without funding anyway, so.
Yeah.
There is no conflict of interest in this case, but yeah, I
I
mean.
think if we do it as a group that avoids the single person being like, oh, I don't have a conflict, because it's just for RCC, if it's just
Yeah.
RCC applies. We don't have to fill the form out as the organization.
Yeah, it could be, I don't know.
Like, I don't think we would, I think makes more sense to do as a group.
Yeah,
As
I hadn't
RCC, and then
considered
you
that.
Have an individual who has to potentially fill out a company interest form.
Yeah.
Every time. They don't.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, I mean, I think it can come from either an individual or from the group, but especially if we're gonna consider doing other things. You know, submitting applications for CRF funds, we could just try to do it as RCC. It's just a little funky since we're recommending our own application, but as long as I mean, it's pretty obvious if we are the applicant.
If they just said make it clear that you're the one doing it, like. That's why there's no real conflict, because it's your group. You know,
Yeah, I guess it does make things a little bit more transparent, because like, yeah, one person submitting to the rest of RCC on behalf of RCC. Is a little bit more convoluted than it just all coming from RCC.
and that doesn't look like this is Jeanette's thing.
Yeah, no, I like that idea, that's good feedback and something that we should do in the future. For the next time we have a funding request that is coming from RCC, to just like. Have it be, from RCC, assuming like we wanna represent it as an RCC project, like I also don't wanna like. Tell anyone in this room that they can't submit an application on their own behalf if they would like to, but. I think at any point, we could just do this group instead if preferred. Cool, does that wrap up, Salamander stuff?
Yep.
Cool, so Richmond pulls together?
Again, just board meeting.
Yeah, I got you.
And I'm getting the ball rolling and talking to people about what they've got in their neighborhoods, and I've heard from, well, Trevor and I have been in good communication about. What's near his house, and we found some cooperative neighbors, and we hope you guys can come on Sunday at 5 o'clock. The weather looks really great. And then I've had a chance to kind of hand over the reins to Melissa, because she's obviously very skilled at organizing her own projects. And we just did a quick check-in training about what is garlic mustard and how to pull it. And she found another very interested neighbor who is collaborating with her. And Melissa, do you want to say what you guys are up to?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Jeanette, for coming over to our properties and giving us a rundown on how to best coordinate and execute a pulling party. We have one tentatively scheduled for this Sunday afternoon in the Tilden Avenue, Baker Street area. And we're just putting that together right now for garlic mustard.
Excellent.
Another thing that I've learned is that it might be engaging to feature one particular invasive a month.
Mhm.
And there's an ideal schedule that I've thought of where we could at least focus on 6 of the most problematic plants, May is obviously garlic mustard, because that's what's popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
I've learned that June is a really good month to focus on Chervil. Are you guys familiar with that one?
Not as familiar as with some of the others, but yes,
The other ones in June include goutweed and Dame's Rocket. July, multiflora rose and honeysuckles. August, Japanese knotweed. September, oriental bittersweet. And October, buckthorn and barberry.
was bindweed in there somewhere?
Bindweed wasn't in here.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
it's the
and-
approach though, to
yeah.
break it out, it's a pretty daunting task as we've like realized, right, so. The neighborhood approach, I think, works really well because it makes it, small scale and like something that you can actually achieve, we're obviously still working on. Plans to try to tackle bigger patches through potential like, contracting, and like CRF funding. So also breaking it up by type and month, I think is also really smart, because it also makes it easier to identify. And it makes it more satisfying, if you can get it at the right time, then you're gonna have a greater effect on eliminating it, and it's like, the more. successful we are getting rid of it, there's also more satisfaction, and hopefully we can continue to get more volunteers, you know, because it feels good when you're taking care of a patch and you feel like you did a good job and you got rid of all of it, versus like if you're coming at the wrong time and you just feel overwhelmed, then that's probably not a great way to get people to come back.
Yeah.
I like focusing on one plant too, because the people know that one, and that's also smaller scale versus like trying to do everything, because you can walk around with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
If you focus on one thing, it makes it a smaller task. Then you could like do another one
And
later.
it might be an easier way to get the word out and get more engagement throughout the community. So maybe we, like, once a month, one of us posts on the front porch forum, the week of the month. What it's all about.
Yep.
And where neighborhood polls are happening. And oh, by the way, if you can't go to one in your own neighborhood, here's a few tips about what to do if you find it in your backyard, kind of thing.
Yeah,
That wouldn't really take a lot, you
Yeah.
can summarize all of that, and then the word spreads a little bit more, we get more all community engagement.
yeah, I like that idea. Do we want to do that this month with garlic mustard?
What do you guys think?
I think it's a good idea. I mean, just, you know, yeah, I think. I know some folks have, like, you know, I've even done it, just like, you know, when I was noticing a lot of a certain thing. I know other folks in town have too, like Lee Diamond and, what's her name?
Yeah, Lee, and then I think John Hart.
Yeah, John,
last
yeah,
week.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think it's helpful. Yeah, is it like, would anyone be interested in writing a post?
I mean, I could do it for the first one, to just get us up and roll.
Yeah,
You guys could look at it and say,
Yeah.
okay, this is what I like about it, this is what I would write differently for the next month, and then it would be really nice if I could tag somebody to do the next one.
So are you talking about a front porch forum post?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
just a brief post.
So
That's-
like something short, sweet,
Yeah.
punchy, catchy,
yeah,
Yeah,
and educational.
yeah.
I like the idea of
That's
taking the
good.
responsibility too, like as you mentioned, like you're the representative
Yeah.
here, you're not like the project
And it'd be really nice,
manager, like.
right,
owner.
but I don't mind like showing you specifically the idea that I just came up with, but then I would really love to tag someone else. Take it
Yeah.
out, so it's all of ours.
Great, yeah, I like that idea, just realized I've not been writing down all my action items, but I normally do, okay, does that, wrap us up on, Richmond pulls together?
That's for me, how about for you guys?
Yeah.
No, I think it's great, and yeah, I'm hoping I'm coming to the party on Sunday. You gotta take care of the
I
Sunday.
won't be here Sunday. Yeah, I'm really sorry.
No. You'll make enough.
Oh, I definitely want to. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess moving on, Melissa, would you like to give us an update on, Green Up Day?
Sure, yes. Well, Green Up Day was May 2nd, and I think we had another really great, successful Green Up Day. I don't know if you have seen the last posting I did, but I'll share the statistics with everyone. We collected together in Richmond 3,480 pounds of trash, and that's excluding tires. That's just trash. That's 1.74 tons of trash. I know, isn't that amazing? Just in Richmond. We collected 31 tires. We distributed out 500 Green Up Day bags and actually ran out of bags. We had 172 people greening up. So that's a really great number of people. A lot of things happened to make that all come together. I did tabling for Green Up Day at Town Meeting Day. I'd say about 4 or 5 front porch forum postings, posters. There was a town center entryway sign up and map. There's also a way to sign up on the Green Up Vermont app. So I had to kind of coordinate between those two ways of signing up. And And then I fielded a bunch of emails from people, mostly ones asking like, when are they coming to pick up my Green Up Day bags? People were very antsy that those get picked up right away. I did filled out the form for Green Up Vermont, which they collect all the statistics statewide so they can write for their grants and things like that. And then there was some coordination with the Suzanne Parent and the town highway department, and then Green Up Vermont to finish up. So we'll be put in a number for bags for next year and hopefully off to the races again. Yes, thank you for asking me to be the volunteer coordinator. It was a fun project and a joyful day for all. Even though it was a little chilly and a bit rainy, I think I was out and got a wonderful picture of the Cub Scout troop down on the Winooski riverbanks with all muddy, pulling things out, tires out, and garbage out of the riverbank. So it was a lot of fun to see everybody out and having a good time greening up. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah. Do you guys have any questions about Green Up Day?
No, I think you did a great job, taking things over, and, Ibit used to do it, and I think that, some folks were like a little intimidated with, taking over that responsibility. I think you did a great job. It was great to see you on town meeting day, promoting, because I hadn't signed up yet, so that's when you got me on the list. And,
good.
I think, yeah. So
well, thank you very much for asking me. Yeah, it's such a great thing. I was telling my sister who lives in New Hampshire about Green Up Day. She was like, "What? That's wonderful." Yeah.
Awesome. And then I guess finally for updates, farmers market update.
Yeah, so I did apply for us to attend the farmers market and we were approved. I applied for 2 dates. And I applied for 2 total, but I applied for 4 potential dates.
Okay.
So that we could have an option. So right now she actually scheduled us for 2 dates right next to each other, which I think we didn't want, right? We wanted one at the beginning and one at the end.
Ideally.
Okay, so the ones that we're currently scheduled for are June 19th and June 26th, but one of those can be moved to September 4th.
Okay. So maybe we move this 26th to September 24th.
September 4th.
Or sorry, September 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Helpful with planning.
I thought that June 19th was hopefully far enough away from now that it would give the people, whoever wants to attend, including potentially me, like enough time to prepare, and then that September 4th was far away enough from that.
Yes, I guess the next question would be, if we're doing the 19th, what do we wanna? How would we like to table, so what would we be covering, because our next RCC meeting is gonna be only a few days before that, so we probably wanna start to get that ball rolling on what we would be doing, cause we'll meet on June 9th, and then,
We could do the 26th instead.
yeah, we could. That gives us a 2.5 weeks from our next meeting. I'm trying to remember what all the various things we talked about doing. I know, we talked about, invasives we've done in the past. I liked Trevian's idea of, sort of doing like a
Discount plant.
like a plant sale. Which would definitely require a decent amount of organizing. And there are questions still remaining, I could dig up what Josh sent me about us raising our own funds, cause that's its own thing, is that
So we pay back the CRF.
we basically, be paying back the CRF, but we need to basically. Yeah, submit, so I don't think that's gonna happen maybe even this year unless we were like doing that. Yeah, I don't think it would happen every time, because we would basically have to.
September.
Yeah, but is that really a time to be planting? I mean, I guess I'm not the expert, so I don't know, and also Trevian's out right now, so he seemed like most passionate about that, so it'd be nice to let him chime in and, maybe help like lead or organize that. So if not September, then, I think it's a great idea for next year, but I think what we want to do is we'd have to submit an application for CRF funds with the plan, offset with some funding, and basically present that to the select board. And then it would be helpful to have, a plan on, well, how do we, help people in Richmond identify what would be good on their property and whatnot. So we need sort of a plan to organize that stuff. So I'm just trying to think about like what the other options were for what we might want to, educate people about.
I think the invasives idea is definitely good, and like, one idea I had is that we could make a game where there's like pictures of the invasives, and then if you're a child or an adult, they could be invasives that you could go find like on the town green or like on the River Shore Trail.
And go get me a knotweed leaf.
Yeah, or something like that, and then if you get, I don't know if it would be like invasives bingo or something, like you could get a sticker or something like that.
Yeah, that's a fun idea. I hadn't considered that. Like, go find me, like, here's a picture of like various invasives, like see how many you can find and bring back. Within like walking distance of this table. I like that. That's a fun way to do it. Yeah, unfortunately, what I'll say is I feel like we are like relatively equipped to do invasive education because that's something we've been talking a lot about. I would like to help out with at least one of these dates, but what I can say is that because I would probably be gone in the second half of June, I don't think I can make either of those first two dates, so I'd probably be helping out in September.
Okay, so should I just ask the farmer's market manager if we can do the later June one and then September 4th?
I think that makes sense. And then
There's not an October option,
I can ask her about that.
cause I'd be interested in the latest possible in October. For. Whatever we decide, maybe we get an idea between now and then of how to bring in more SOS volunteers.
okay, yep.
It's just a thought, cause I know. That's when we did it the last time, it seemed like people really dialed in and. Were thinking, oh, that's something to look forward to next spring. Yeah, I'd like to join that.
So I'll ask her about June 26th and then an October date.
But I'm not wedded to that, I'm certainly open to what other people are excited about.
I think either's fine. I would think that maybe October is less attended because it's starting to get colder, but I don't know what the stats are for farmers market attendance, so. I'm fine with either. I'm pretty flexible. Normally I'm around, but June's not good for me. But I'm fine with September or October. But it could be,
Yeah, I mean, I hesitate to commit right now, I don't. I just wanted to explore with you, Susanna, if they're still flexible, or if we have to nail it down right now, which date in the fall?
I think that they probably want to get it scheduled soon, but I think that they are flexible in what they have available right now. So, and I'm guessing that October will probably be pretty open since it's like later in the season. So I guess I can ask that October, and then if you want to do that one, you can, but if you're not available, then somebody else can, and
That sounds good.
either way, it'll work out.
So do we wanna, so it sounds like we wanna do invasives in June and then. And then save our salamanders in the fall. At least,
Sounds
like, okay, cool, so that said,
But
we
would you
should,
say that, Sam, are you saying is there an expectation there that we're all to show up? All of
no,
us, or-
no, not necessarily, I'm just trying to make sure
Yeah.
that we're getting the ball rolling now, like if. I'm just thinking, next meeting, we probably wanna talk about what our plan is for going to the farmer's market 2 weeks after our next
Right,
RCC.
but I'm also thinking it'd be helpful for Susanna to know who's available
Mhm.
now. Before
Sure.
she commits to June,
Yeah, I'm.
'cause I'm not available.
Hmm. It's hard to know.
When's the date in June?
June 26th.
I would have to look at that,
Yeah,
cause
that's fine.
it's a weekend, right?
It's on Friday at, I think you have to be there at 2:30 and then you leave at 6:30.
Yeah, don't count on it. I'll look and I'll get back to you, but
Okay.
we,
Now
I
we-
can't
weekends are
commit to
really hard.
Outside stuff ahead of.
Yeah, weekends are
just
very
depends
hard.
on How about, is it hard? If I can like help out with things. So like more of like a, I'll go at that day.
Would you guys, oh, Melissa, I can't hear you, sorry.
Unfortunately, I'm out of town on the 26th for a family reunion.
Oh, nice, okay,
Yeah.
well. How would you guys feel about me like trying to recruit a friend to sit with me, like that's not an RCC person?
I think that's fine. I mean, I feel bad that we're, trying to move forward with this and it's like nobody's available on the dates that they're offering. I guess the question would be, does June 19th work any better? It doesn't work better for me, but I don't know if that works better for other folks. But I don't have any issue with you recruiting somebody else. I could also, I mean, we don't know what Trevian's availability is. It sounds like he was a little bit more, he's a little bit more of a, restoration guy. I think, I don't know, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it seems like the wiping out of invasives is not like his main thing. Like he's more into the, replanting. So I don't know if that would be the tabling event that he would want to be representing necessarily, but we'd have to check with him once he's back from Japan. Which should be in a week or two.
Okay, I'm not that concerned about, I mean, it's like 4 hours of my life, it's not that,
Yeah.
so, but I do have questions about logistics, like the table and the banner and those kind of things, so.
Yes,
But I kind of wanna move on, just because of.
yeah, for
the
sure,
time
I
and-
agree. I think, yeah, we should just coordinate, I think we can coordinate outside.
Okay.
I'm happy to try to coordinate with you on that, like, if the plan is like, you're gonna run the table. We can talk about it next meeting some more, but in the
Okay.
meantime, we can organize and have some stuff to talk about next meeting.
Okay,
I just wanna make sure we know at least what we're generally planning on doing, so that we're not just having the same conversation 2 weeks before the meeting.
yeah,
And that is a good reminder to me to, see if maybe I can get that banner printed between, because I was trying to coordinate with Duncan on like having like a multi-purpose banner where it would be like the town of Richmond's banner, but then we could also have like a separate smaller like VYCC, like maybe put Velcro on or a separate banner or
RCC.
something. RCC, did I, what did I say?
VYCC.
Oh, sorry, not VYCC, RCC. And then that way it's like a, multi-purpose situation. So yeah, we'll coordinate and then we can put it on the next agenda.
I just want to do a time check, see him. Is that clock right? Is it 20 hours?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
4 minutes fast.
But yeah, we are running, it's, 8:38, so, that, concludes updates, but we're definitely running, way behind, so, a couple things, I guess. Well, technically, we're not really supposed to reverse order, I was gonna say we quickly talk about the, RFP stuff, but I think technically we should save it for the end because that's the way that things are supposed to happen, according to the agenda. So I guess we should hop back into our discussion about the Phragmites project that we talked about last meeting. So, yeah, I'm sure folks recall the discussion, we had a lot of questions, so I guess, I don't know, Suzanne, if you wanna catch us up on like what you've been up to between last meeting and this meeting, not that you need to like answer every question that was posed last meeting that was, that we didn't have an answer to, but I'd just be curious, like, where you're at and like what your thoughts are with the project, and you could explain the difference between the fact that we have like two different
Yes.
CRF apps now.
Yeah, so I really appreciated all the questions. I thought they were really great and helpful. they helped me refine the budget. So you'll notice that there are two different budgets or two different requests. And I'm gonna explain that more, but if you are looking at the CRF request, it just says CRF request Phragmite, that's like an edited version of the one that I brought last time. But I took a lot of stuff out, including gloves, because I think people can bring their own gloves. I also took out the yard waste bags because of the comments. I think Jeanette, you offered that you brought stuff on tarps. And then I added the dump trailer to that instead of, I think I had said like a flatbed truck. But so the dump trailer is a new expense, but then there's other stuff that was taken out. So it's I think it's like about half of the original request.
Yeah.
But people also brought up VYCC. And I have been in touch with VYCC about what they can offer. This would look quite a bit different. So if you open up the VYC CRF request Phragmite, a lot of the wording is the same, but at the beginning it says project description, a VYCC crew lead and I will lead a team of volunteers. VYCC will provide professional crew leadership, trained volunteer management, all necessary tools, including maintenance and cleanup and use of their dump trailer. So when I've been talking with VYCC, they said it's a common misconception that VYCC provides volunteers. They don't provide volunteers. They do provide a crew lead at the rate of $500 per day. And that person is a professional volunteer manager. Then they provide tool use at an additional $250 a day. But you have to have a VYCC crew lead there in order to rent their tools. And then the dump trailer, so part of what's tricky about this is that I got a little bit of new information since I submitted this for the packet.
Yeah.
But I think he said that they would be willing to do $50 a day. So that for the dump trailer, so
Okay.
that would go down to 200 instead of 400. And then they would need reimbursement for gas. So obviously this is like a way bigger ask. It's right now, I guess that would be $3,259. But the benefits of it is that it supports VYCC and their crew leads have a lot of experience with both conservation and managing volunteers. So I just wanted to bring them both to the commission to see what you guys think about it.
So, yeah, I one question about the crew lead.
Yeah,
That's just one person. It's not like the crew lead comes with some other like VYCC people. It's just the one person.
Just
So
the one
we're
person.
still, we would, need, like the project would need outside volunteers. It's not like
yes,
it's a built-in, like, oh, here's your crew lead with a crew of, 8
Exactly,
people that
yeah.
would help.
Yeah.
Okay. You would also mention, and maybe this like was something you were just exploring and isn't actually feasible, but I think you had mentioned potentially another way for like St. Mike's or something.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that,
so
to, like,
one of the,
lend us some equipment.
one of my VMN, colleagues, one of the people that just graduated, he works at St. Mike's. And he has, I think, like 3 spades, he has loppers or shears, which we'll also need. I think he has a tarp I can borrow. I'm a little bit hesitant to borrow the spades, cause I'm just like a little bit worried about what if they break, then.
Yeah,
Then I'm borrowing them, then it's me on the hook.
true,
Thank you. Yeah, so like, I think I'm okay, like, for example, borrowing his tarp and probably the loppers, cause I just feel like they're sturdier, but I'm like a little bit wary about
Yeah,
the
that's-
spades.
yep.
The VYCC also said that we could borrow a couple of their spades, but in either case. Bless you,
Excuse me.
I'm like, yeah, I'm just a little hesitant about that. I guess the other benefit of using VYCC's tools is that then in terms of like what happens to the tools after the project. VYCC cleans and maintains them and takes them back.
Yes.
So, but it's, I don't know if the cost justifies all of those benefits in your opinions.
Yeah, cause I was thinking about the crew leader. They, in order for you to borrow the tools.
There has to be a crew leader there.
Has to be a crew leader.
But you could borrow a couple without the crew leader.
Yes. But you have access to all of them with the crew leader.
Yeah.
I guess another option, and this like, I guess might complicate things, but you could potentially do like a combination where like you basically go with the version without like the VYCC version, but then put in the budget for what like a VYCC crew leader for like the first day or something. Like if we feel like there's merit to having a crew leader there for like the volunteer management, like education stuff, I suppose that's potentially an option too, would be to like, rather than have them for all 4 days, like, you know, would it be possible to have them? I don't know if there's an advantage, but like, I don't know, I'm just thinking, potentially get them to come the first time, which might be helpful to get, you know, some structure around it, if they have that experience, you know, with volunteers and whatnot, you know.
Structure around how the project is run?
Or just like the volunteer day is run, you know, like if, but yeah, I've never worked with them directly, so I don't know, you know, what that would look like. But I'm just thinking like, you know, if we went with the VYCC model, you know, that's much more expensive. So I was just thinking like, okay, well, is there a way that we could still get some of the benefit of having one of those crew leads, without, you know, footing a, you know, $3,500 bill. And if it was that we were funding the project, the non-VYCC version, you know, at $500, and then, you know, hired a crew lead for 1 day for like the first day, then that would be like $1,000 project instead of a $3,500 project, but maybe that's
I guess
an
that
odd
to me,
idea.
like one of the main benefits of having the crew lead there, I mean, I'm sure they would be super helpful, but it is access to the tools.
Yeah,
And then doing the maintenance and cleaning of the tools.
good point, yeah.
So I kind of see that as like the price tag of being able to use
Yeah,
their tools.
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, not discounting the help they would provide.
No, you have a good point, yeah, I was just kicking around various ideas,
Yeah.
but I think you've got a good point there.
What, so I guess, what does the Vermont Master Naturals Program have to do with the project? That's what I didn't.
Because I was in the program, have to do a project, like a final project.
Sure.
And this is the one that I chose.
What are like, how does the project work with that? Is it just you pick a project and you run? Like, I was like, what's the?
It's so different people kind of, I'm trying to think of other projects, like some people just built like snake hotels locally, or like did some different kind of like wildlife conservation stuff. I think it has to fit within local conservation guidelines. So you basically like we told our instructors about it, and then kind of had to get it approved. And then if they approve it, then you move forward with it. And ours is also as like specifically like coordinating with RCC in some ways. And since I'm a commissioner, then that was also a connection.
Is getting the CRF money part of like what's needed for doing, like for it to count as a project or?
No.
Okay.
That's just me trying to get tools. Which I mean, I have thought about like, do I just go on Front Porch Forum and ask people if they have spades instead of doing this? Like, I don't.
Cause I'll buy another spade. Where you can borrow.
I mean, there's probably 12 spades that I could borrow in Richmond. I think maybe, I don't know. I just, I thought this was kind of like the most organized way to do it, I think.
I feel like especially if it's if it's sort of like a proving out of like, this is a way to take care of Phragmites, you know, like if we're gonna try to deal with it in the middle
future
school,
years,
or
yeah.
like. We can get permission to do it, you know, I don't know, like at what scale, you know, there's the cutoff where we would wanna hire a contractor instead, but. This is sort of like proving out a model that could work in
Yeah.
other locations, and like, I'm sure there are there's more than one invasive species that you can use a spade on, right? So like if there is, like 2 or 3 years ago, before I was on RCC, but was attending meetings, there was discussion about like basically building like a trailer that the town would own that would have all this stuff in it, and you could basically
That
like
would be
drive
great.
it to a location. And Daniel was basically saying like, oh, I could build this trailer, and I don't know whatever happened with that project, but like this supports that kind of model where essentially we have the equipment and then you can use it for multiple projects.
Yeah.
That's one thing I like about this is
I'd
that
rather have the equipment, like, and not rent the equipment through VYCC.
you would rather have.
Yeah, like if we're gonna have it, then I'd rather have it, and then we,
Right.
I personally buy another spade than have available, so we have two, plus all the things I have.
Yeah, so like if we did the VYCC one, which I think does have significant advantages, but then every year these costs would recur.
Yes.
Versus
yeah,
the
4 or 5
other-
years.
Yeah,
I'm wondering too, Susanna, if this could be boiled down to a smaller project or like like a test project where, you know, a few people, I don't know who you have for volunteers or how many volunteers you have. Are those coming from the Vermont Master?
some of them are, but I
Some-
haven't in earnest like started putting out a request for volunteers because I wanted to see what happened with this first.
Oh,
But now I know that VYCC is not an avenue to get volunteers.
okay, yeah. I mean, I was just thinking about, you know, condensing it down to a small, just to test how this could work without like VYCC.
I am, so because of where this specific patch is, I know it's a really big project. And I know that's gonna present challenges, but I'm also reluctant to go to a patch that's in a totally different location that's smaller as a pilot because I haven't done the legwork in those areas. Like Jeanette introducing me to Bruce and having conversations with him about trying this out on his property. And scheduling with Annie Dalton, who's the person that's gonna teach me the spading technique. So I would like to move forward with, and like we talked about at last meeting, it is possible that maybe we'll just approach the sides of the patch, for example, and the sides of the patch could be the pilot to see how the spading technique is effective, depending on how much, how many people are available. But I'm reluctant to change the location because of the work that's been done so far.
The days are like 4 instead of 6, so is that like doing instead of 3 different times, is it 2?
Yeah, because it was pushed back from last meeting to this
Okay,
meeting.
I don't make sure I understood all the.
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah, so Annie and I are supposed to meet in mid-June. And then I had hoped to start organizing volunteers like as soon as possible for July and August.
Did you look at like disposal methods that you do on site, if there's no seed heads on the Phragmites?
I don't think, I haven't asked Bruce about burning, but I don't think that'll be a good option.
Or just piling them up, what's the other thing that you could do?
Yeah, so I think the concern. So this is a little bit in the weeds, no pun intended, but there's a method called a drying stack. That's used for Japanese knotweed. That's something that we might be able to look at, but what for everything that I've looked at with Phragmites, it's like, don't leave it around, like you should get rid of it.
Because of the rhizome, might be on like the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah.
It should be, or you could like seriously take off the small part of the bottom, and then the rest of the stalk is not gonna do anything. Cause there's no seeds on it, like just, if you really just lopped off that small end.
Yeah,
You'd like take that and you'd have very minimal waste to take
That's
away.
right.
And then you just have the stalk, as long as Bruce is okay with you just leaving it there, which maybe if you moved it off and then you just run it over the mower.
I wonder what how that changes. I mean, I haven't seen this method, so I don't know like how intensive it is like per Phragmites stock, but if now you're having to cut and then, you know, cut off the top and bottom of every single stem, rather than just piling them up onto a trailer, like that could add a significant amount of labor to the.
If you do it before the seed pods are on there, then there's no top.
Okay, so you just be doing the bottom.
Yeah, and you can stack them up, as long as they're not in contact with the ground, they will, they don't just sprout. The stuff I read, you can pile them up, and then you just need to check the pile every like couple weeks and see if something did, just pull it out. It's pretty easy, like, cause I was reading the Ontario, like, Phragmites thing, and like their follow-up studies, that that's what they were talking about, just, and then some of the Great Lakes stuff on like management for disposal.
Mhm.
Was that you could just pile them up on site, it's the easiest way, you don't bring it anywhere, especially if you do it before there's seed pods. Cause then that's the easiest, that you don't have to do all the extra work of like carting it off somewhere, and then above ground. If they're not in water, they don't ground,
Yeah,
they don't
I
very
don't,
well rate.
I do wanna think more about that, but I think I would probably keep the disposal options in the proposal, because I don't know if I'll have the availability to like go check if they are on site, and I don't know if he would agree to that, so in case he doesn't agree to it, I guess I would keep that, and then maybe I don't use that money.
It's what we have done in the past is like approved for up to a certain amount, so what you could do is like, you know. If we moved forward with this and improved it, then you could basically say, we could basically approve up to this amount, which includes like the trailer cost and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then you could basically look into other methods, and it could be that you know. Don't spend all that money, if it's approved, by the select board, you could do the full amount, or it could be that. You don't spend all that, and maybe, the first couple times, you just keep it simple and you dispose of the whole stock, and then like, you figure out how to just cut off the ends by like the end of like the first year, and then that might, reflect how the application looks in, subsequent years.
On July 1st, they're changing the disposal fees for like yard waste. So where you have to pay for the first, I think it's $1 per yard, so it's like minimal for like this, but like the first up to 2 yards, it's $1 per yard, and then you can pay $5 a yard. After, if you bring it at once, and it's like supposed to be a per day thing, so if you make more than one trip, you're supposed to then hit the threshold where you then. Like pay the $5 a yard disposal. That's what, but they changed the tipping rates, that's what CSWD's like budget, the last select board meeting had in it.
Does that order that shape, yeah, does this, you would have to go to CSWD, not, I don't know if Casella has.
I think they use the same rates, I think they are required to use the same CSW, they
Yeah.
just manage the transfer station.
Got it, I see.
And so like their rates are the same. But you could bring, also none of the places are open on Sunday, so if you did work on Sunday, you'd have to like. Keep it in something.
Mhm.
Until you could take it somewhere take the bills on Monday. Which then makes it, I guess, more like if you had the trailer on Sunday. You'd have to also have it on Monday, or not have it on Sunday, and then get it again on Monday and go back to the site and pick it up.
Mhm.
Whereas you could go to Richmond or Williston Saturday. To get rid of things.
Yeah. I guess I'm thinking about,
Melissa has.
yeah, Melissa has some questions, yeah, Melissa, would you like to ask a couple questions, and then I've got a few thoughts.
Sure, I'll be really quick, and I'm just reading through your proposal and getting up to speed, and I had a couple quick questions. The first was, so I understand that this is on private property that the project would occur, and since that to me seems a little bit unusual for conservation reserve funds, I'm wondering if you have kind of informally run that by Josh or a select board member to understand if that is going to be an issue.
I haven't run it by them. I guess I think of it, and Melissa, without like having time to really think about your question, it's that, like, I think Phragmites will occur both on public and private property, and it will keep spreading because
Sure,
of its presence. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I understand that. I know that. I just, I guess the scenario I was thinking of is then if I have Phragmites on my property, can I get or my neighbor has Phragmites, and they say, hey, somebody got money, but I want to get mine out. And so I'd like money to do mine too. So I just a thought. I'm not sure how that might play out. And then my second question was I'm just trying to understand the project. So you're doing the project for, is it called Vermont Naturalist? But my
Vermont
question is
Master. Yeah.
Master Naturalist. So this is not a Richmond Conservation Commission project
No.
at all. And okay. I guess my question is why not? But maybe that's a separate issue. And then my last question is just, I hear the technique is spading. I've removed Phragmites by cutting, but I've never done spading. Is that something that the average volunteer will be able to do? Like a 62-year-old woman like myself?
So for your second
spading.
question, I think that I'm not sure that RCC wants to take this on
I
as
see.
a
Okay.
C project. And then for spading, the person who's going to be teaching me is a retired woman. So like who's done a lot of her own work at Nichols Pond spading. So I think it depends on the person, but my hope and my assumption is that it is hard work, but I think that we will be able to do it. I don't think I'm being like super rose-colored glasses about it. Because I do think it's like it's a specific technique. It's not digging, it's just pushing a spade in at an angle. But I think my hope is that it'll become rote after a while, and that if I'm the lead, I will learn it sufficiently well to teach it over, like, let's say like the first 30 minutes of the day, and then different people will have different tasks. Some people will be cutting off plant material, some people will be spading, some people will be measuring the plot that we're working on. But yeah, so I feel like it will be accessible. Also going back to your first question, I would love it if it did work and then groups of people in the future wanted to help different people address it that way on their property. You know, like, kind of like the Knott and Hyde Park people have, they are on a mix of public and private land, and they have these groups organizing to take down knotweed all summer.
Yeah,
All
I was
roads.
thinking, yeah, and that's super cool. I was thinking of it more not in that vein, but in the monetary vein of conservation reserve funds.
Right. Yeah, but hopefully maybe like the tools could be used for a lot of different places in the future. I know we're really low on time.
Yeah, so I guess I have a few thoughts. I do think that the biggest question with this is probably the private land piece, which we haven't really like talked too much about. I mean, like as a commission, I think that the application does, call out criteria in the conservation reserve fund policy, and that it's, it is directed at threatened resources, and it meets a number of the criteria. So personally, yeah, I guess this might be like a separate discussion that we want to have as a commission in terms of like public versus private land. I would say that, as Susanna mentioned, invasives, they don't care about property boundaries, right? Like, they are going to continue to spread. If we don't take care of this on private land, it is going to end up on public land. I think that the main cost here is, well, I guess disposal is like the biggest one here. I think, like, I'm for, purchasing the spades and having them as a resource for the town to be able to handle projects like this. I also like that this is sort of potentially proving out a model that we could use elsewhere in town, which makes me a little bit more comfortable with some of these other costs. But I do think that both the select board and members of the public are going to have the same question that Melissa had about, you know, why are we doing this on private land? And so I think that, that is a good thing to be considering. Because they're gonna ask the same questions and, you know, having, a solid answer on, you know, on why, because I think we will need a compelling argument, or you will need a compelling argument for like why this is appropriate. You know, one thing that might be mentioned is like, well, is there a way to have the LaBounties do the disposal, you know, or like pay for the disposal so that the town only owns like the spades, which are reusable, and then all the other costs, if say somebody else has Phragmites on their property, they would use their own truck, or they would hire, or they would pay for the trailer and the disposal. So it could be that, I don't know, I'm just trying to think ahead in terms of like what, you know, the select board might ask and what members of the public might ask, and just the optics of that. So I like this project. I like the idea of us like, you know, or you proving out a model for taking care of Phragmites in town. I personally don't have a problem with this, but I do want to be thoughtful about how other members of the Richmond community might think about use of conservation reserve funds like on public land. So I think those are just good questions. So I'm personally comfortable moving forward with this, but I think that it, I don't know, I think we might wanna coordinate on like, I guess, messaging in terms of like why using conservation reserve funds on like on private land is good for Richmond, like the Richmond community as a whole. And because we haven't had a discussion about that, kind of much like this, like herbicide stuff that we've talked about having a discussion about, it is like a bigger discussion that we might want to continue to talk about. So yeah, so I don't know where that leaves us here. Like I'm definitely for the spades, and I think that the disposal is necessary for this project to move forward. But yeah, I don't know how popular it will be with the select board in terms of like the private land piece. So I think as long as the messaging is good, then that's something that can be talked out with the select board, and I'm happy to support. But I will say that when applications are, you know, go to the select board, it's really, the questions will be directed at you, not at me. And I can chime in, but it will be, you know, it's your application. So yeah, I don't know, does anyone else have thoughts? Trevor, yeah, you raised your hands.
Yeah,
So
however you want.
the private public, so like, I guess the question would be like, why this place but not somebody else's private land, or why not use the money on the public land that we know have problems? I feel like there are invasives everywhere, so it's gonna be hard to be like, well, this is more important than these other ones without actually having information to present as to why this one is the one that needs to be targeted, which maybe it is. But like, I think like overall, when I was like thinking about this issue, like how this would be presented, using the public money on private land, I think what you said about like maybe the landowner has some part of it, like in general, like maybe if it's not just any LaBounties or anyone, but they do some like, or like if they do volunteer do the removal also, they bring in some, maybe they provide 3 or 4 people to help out with doing it, maybe they help with disposal, and then they're putting in some for their own land, because it also is gonna have to keep going beyond this year for years. And so like having whoever it is involved, I think is really important to know what part of they can be in this, because they need to be part of it. It's gonna be ongoing for years.
It's like sweat equity kind of.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe not necessarily money, but they 3 or 4 people doing stuff would be
Yeah.
very helpful.
I
Maybe
think
it is disposable.
I can definitely talk to him about what he would feel comfortable with, and like the idea of like, if it's benefiting somebody's land, like how can they be involved in the project?
Yeah, and like, yeah, so when I was writing up stuff about it, that was one thing I was looking forward to, that it's theirs, they get some benefit out of it, even if it's not money, like if it's effort, or they can maybe pull in some volunteers that aren't them if they aren't capable of doing it themselves. I think like as a whole for the town, it would be helpful if we created some sort of like rough idea of an invasive management plan with like actually identifying areas that need to be targeted, which invasives, where, how might they be done?
Yeah.
So that when we like go like, oh, this private landowner has some really bad things that's gonna affect, we can be like, we have this plan, we looked at areas, this is why we've evaluated it, this is the highest criteria, we really need to target this spot. Which maybe it's this spot, but like, I don't think at this point we really could say that, there's lots of places that you can see or don't have things, we haven't really looked at any way of ranking them.
Yeah,
And like, in general, this year, it's supposed to have like a ranking system, so like, choosing when you spend the money. And because we haven't done private funding project before, people haven't been like, oh yeah, we should just apply for these things, and I don't know, like, I
Yeah,
don't think
That's an
people are.
excellent point, yeah, a place where we can think through our criteria. And be able to evaluate projects based on.
Yeah, I think that's
universal
right, good.
criteria for
And I,
big
you know,
projects like this that require money.
yeah, and I think Melissa brought up a really good point, hadn't really thought about that, and I would be concerned before, you know, going forward, not to at least have the, you know, confirmed whether, you know, because we're gonna be spending a long time on that project, right? You're gonna be spending a couple years on that project, and it's gonna be specific to that area. And I don't know, I wanna find that out first.
one thing too is that if we do have the equipment and it's owned collectively, then if other people get interested in organizing their own crews. Like, I don't want it to just, kind of like the Richmond pulls together, like, I don't want it to just stay me.
yeah,
So if spading became something that I'd be happy to teach people outside of,
Yeah,
you know, this season.
yeah,
That they could then do it in the next weekend in July on somebody else, you know, like, I just don't. I don't want it to be like, as if it's only going to benefit this one
no, I
guy.
think the project sounds fine, I just worry, you know, about what Melissa just brought up and whether, you know, I just think we need to confirm whether this is okay to do, to be on a
I mean, I could
private
just
property
take,
versus public property.
I could just take that out of the application. Like, I could just say that it's for future spading projects.
that's true, but then. Then what about the, like, the waste disposal and gas, you know, cause then that, I don't know, I guess I'm thinking. If this were saying, if we took this exact same project and said like, this is gonna happen at the middle school, like, I feel like that would be a lot easier to sell to the community. Versus like on private land, like, I'm for the project, but I guess I am a little bit worried about the optics and just the politics, you know, cause there are folks that. Are not in favor of spending, you know, they don't like the tax and they're not in favor of conservation efforts at all. And so this is sort of like, I could potentially open up an opportunity for some individuals to say like, see, your money's getting spent on like somebody else's land, and like. This is why we shouldn't have a conservation fund, reserve fund, because like, it's not benefiting the community, it's just benefiting this, like, this specific. You know,
Landowner.
this, yeah, specific landowner, I mean, I think that. There's a really, you know, beautiful wetlands there are a lot of great reasons that I agree with. Why I think that this plot is a good place to target. But I'm just trying to think about how. Like, what the arguments are gonna be coming at you, and, you know, arguments that would also be, you know, levied at this commission for. For moving this project forward if it hits, you know, the select board's plate, so.
I'm basically feeling like, I think I should just do it not through CRF.
Yeah,
Cause of the time, like, I have to go home, and so. I think timing wise, it won't work to like put it off into the next meeting,
yeah,
so I think I should just not. I should just figure it out outside of this setting.
okay,
Well, I just want to follow up on that point, what we vote on is a reflection on all of us.
yeah, it is.
And, you know, whether it's the people who wanted that bench for the pickleball courts, and then.
Yeah, which we had to say.
Presented to the select board, anything that they question about. That decision is a reflection on us.
Yes.
It's not just the person who's applying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I guess it would be a little challenging at this point too. I mean, I suppose we could. If we wanted to approve this, like, in part, if we like the idea of the spades and we like the idea of this Phragmites project. And wanted, and if Susanna's gonna proceed, you know, with this regardless, I'm wondering, if we would want to consider a motion for the spades. Not tied to a specific plot, and if the spades were owned by the town, then, then they could be used at the middle school, or at the La Bounties, and it's not. It could benefit anyone in town on private land or on public land, it's not necessarily going to be tied to, just that one, that one plot.
Do you guys want to store them?
That's another question, I mean, and that might be something that, could be talked about with the,
If you wanna start with people just using their own spades,
yeah.
Like, I think it's.
do the sample plot,
Space.
like
Use
you
it.
said, Suzanne, from the outside,
I know.
looking in.
Mhm.
But not have to spend any money on, so essentially we're testing this.
Mhm.
As you described it, but we're using, just like with the small scale neighborhood projects, our own gear.
Yeah.
Then we'll be in a better position to say, this was really great, here's some before and after pictures, and you'll have some time to build the case around. Why, yes, it's on somebody's private land, but it actually has a ripple effect, because plants and animals, they don't understand. Property boundaries.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Go ahead.
I'm really sorry, but I have to go home,
Yeah.
so, I guess is that okay minutes wise?
Oh, yeah, I guess what we can do is, I guess I hate to put off, the, conversation about the. Invasives, RFP that we had been working on, Trevor, do you think that's something that you and I can coordinate on, to move forward?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll follow up with you separately. I think we can, we can, make a motion to adjourn. And then. It sounds like, we can coordinate these things like separately.
Could we just touch base with you guys a little bit, because we went over, you know.
You mean with the
Like, are
RFP?
you two gonna try to get together between now and our next meeting?
Yeah, we
To
can
work on the RFP?
work on it and then basically submit it.
Just give us a sense of how far along you feel you are.
The jumper.
It's as far as it is like the last meeting,
Suzanne,
The jump.
But we didn't
on this
review it
last
at
one.
last meetings, so. Right,
Say again?
we didn't have time to review it at the last meeting.
it's true, but it was posted. Last meeting, so like the version that's up is like as far as it is, like,
Right, but you didn't get to comment last meeting, and I was just wondering if you guys could just do a quick comment. You both are looking to us to sort of basically review it, and your hope is to then submit it, the following month or two. Do you have?
I think we still need to talk about it as a committee, because this is like the template, this is like the template for doing invasive management projects.
No, I know we need to talk about it. I was just wondering, in your judgment, based on the work that you guys have done, if you're feeling like it's
Are we done?
really good shape, like you're close to.
I think it's pretty close to being done, but I also think that considering we just lost our like meeting minutes person, like I was not comfortable.
Oh,
Continuing on, like I think we need to adjourn this meeting,
I see.
because like, we don't have somebody taking
Yeah.
minutes now, so anything we discuss now is not on the record,
Gotcha.
so like, I think we have to stop now, because
Okay.
we don't. I can, type a few notes, I guess, and have Suzanne append them, we do still have a quorum.
Yeah.
But like. I think that the reason it's been on the last few agendas is so that we could talk about it,
I
but like.
didn't need a long discussion, just.
I think it's
sense
close,
of-
I think it's close,
Yeah.
but because it's going to reflect. Again, it's another thing that's gonna reflect the entire commission, I think
Right.
we need to talk about it as a group, so. I think Trevor and I can touch base. To put a little bit more polish on it, and maybe we just need to like, make. Put it like first on the agenda, so that.
We just send it to people, like, we could do like.
We can
send
resend
comments
it,
out, and
yeah,
then
we can resend it out and have people comment on it.
solicit comments, and then we'll just decide what we change, if anything, for next
Yeah.
meeting.
I had a couple comments from Bob Lowe that we could, or that I can send to you.
I didn't know if we had any comments like pending that I.
I think it's
hadn't
just
seen
from
yet.
Bob Lowe.
Okay.
So, yeah,
I'm feeling more optimistic, we'll be able to finally devote time, because we got through a lot of updates that we won't need to do.
That's
I
true.
have another concern, but I just off the record. Can I do that?
Can I-
maybe,
Okay.
well, I don't, that's a weird
Is it
question.
commission related? Then probably not.
Is it what?
Is it?
If it's commission related, it
If
should
it's
probably
commission
be
related.
on the record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise,
not a
like,
problem. Okay.
if you wanna tell me something off the record, like not during a public meeting, but like.
Yeah. okay.
Even once we adjourn the meeting, we're gonna have a quorum here, so like I would not
Oh.
working, we shouldn't be talking about
Got
RCC stuff
got it,
until we have 3 or less people in the
Okay.
room.
Yeah.
So sorry to shoot that down, but I just. want
yeah,
to do
no,
things
no,
that
I
way.
get it, it wasn't a big deal, but.
Okay, so that said, I guess I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting, but because I think we should.
Yeah, good, good.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, everybody. Sorry we went long.
Melissa.
We'll have to get better at doing things quicker.